Hey Witch, and welcome back to Witch Hunt. I'm Panda Bennett, and today on the Trial of Bee Infinity, we'll be discussing wellness or spirituality and as well as fitness. And I'm really, really excited. Due to my scheduling, I had to reschedule this. So I appreciate your time and you making that up and being willing to be flexible. I'm really sorry. You guys, Bee is my favorite tarot reader. She reads for me. She's absolutely wonderful. And so I'm really glad that I got to sit down with you here today. How are you?
Great to be here.
Where are you at? So I'm in South Dakota.
I'm based in Arizona, so
Okay. Nice. Is it really nice there right now?
it's starting to get hot. So it's nice now, but it's getting to that point where it's creeping up there in the 90s sometimes. So yeah, it's starting
I'm
to be.
actually looking at moving. So Arizona is one of our possibilities, like Oregon, Arizona, or Colorado, or like kind of what we were thinking. I don't know, but that's exciting. So for everyone else that's not obsessed with you, why don't you introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about you?
So I first start like my whole story, or so I think what I like to do is really focus on the mundane. So it's kind of like those daily things. So whether it's exercise or daily carpools or daily affirmation, I deal mostly with the mundane. So
Okay.
I don't really do the big like moon rituals. Sometimes I do, but I really focus on those day-to-day things that add up to kind of like the bigger thing.
Yeah, which I think the mundane is like often overlooked, and there's so much magic in that. You know what I mean? Finding those routines throughout the day that support your lifestyle, whether it's your, routine before work, routine on your break, like that, those things that fit and that work and that make you just have a better life. I think that that's extremely important. And I'm kind of, well, it's enough about me, but why don't you tell us then if you have any labels? So like labels are super, super big in 21, right? They've all these different new, like cool, trendy labels. Do
Yeah.
you
I mean,
subscribe to
I'm
any
I'm in
labels?
awe in some of those labels, like the spiritual anarchist. I'm like, I want that one.
Yes.
Uh,
That's how I felt too. I was like,
like
can I
one of them
have
was
that?
like, what was the one that was like midwife? Or I was like, oh, I
Yes. I know. Yes. I was just like, oh my gosh. There's a lot of good ones. And I
yeah.
I was like, I haven't really given it enough thought. But do
Right?
you
I
have
haven't
any?
no thoughts. No, but actually mine comes back a throwback to when I was really into science fiction. And so it came from like Star Wars, but it's like the extended universe. So there was like books after the movie before Disney bought it, which are now being completely like muted and no one know people kind of disregarded them. But anyway, there was a book where there were like force witches and there was like a group of like Amazonian type and they used the force, but they did it through spells. And yeah, so I always like force witch as a
Oh wow. Oh my gosh.
yeah, so that's what I'll use.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. I feel like, okay, so this isn't the same thing, but I was just totally like transported back to Space Force, like on Netflix, and like their uniforms. I feel like we need to start a club that says like Force Witch with like the NASA like type logo.
Yeah, and I really do like it because, whereas like with the in the regular series you have the council and it's very rigid. The force witches don't belong to any of that, but they still use the force. So it's more of like a natural way to use the force in a way without the all the structure.
Without the
So
dogma. Oh, I like it. Oh my gosh, a force witch. That's amazing. Yeah, like literally using the force of the universe as you see fit. That's so big. Oh my gosh. I'm like, my Instagram handle is gonna be so long. Like it used to just say like tarot reader, and now it's like spiritual anarchist, force witch, tarot reader. Oh my gosh, that's too cool.
yeah.
So tell us then, as a force witch, kind of what your past centers on, what how you're using that to support yourself, and kind of what that looks like.
So, again, I focus a lot with the mundane. So it was really to support myself. I actually got started just to kind of survive at work. Like just being honest, it was like,
Yeah.
this is hard. I'm in an environment where it was the most unnatural environment. Like literally I was in a place with no windows and it was gray and brown and like just like it was really
Sad.
sad.
Yeah.
I was surrounded
Oh.
by like I was like the, you know, and not that it matters, I get along with most people, but a whole bunch of dudes and like in Arizona you kind of know the demographic of that, and
Yeah, like a bunch of chads.
I'm just like, no.
Oh.
So really, it was for me to just stay sane, and so I had to focus on my day-to-day experience. So like even just getting through like quarter of the day was like a success for me, especially back then. So yeah.
I totally understand that. So tell me on your day to day, what kind of things, mundane things help boost your day and like help you with that serotonin level?
Well, I mean, it's like it's kind of it it started for me in very small ways, and that's why I love the mundane, because it can be so small. And for me, it was something as simple as, even back before work was a major issue, it was my hair. So literally fixing my hair in a specific way would give me a certain kind of energy, right?
Yeah.
So it was really like small things, or doing my daily affirmations. And I really do like change my routine quite frequently to how it matches my what I need. So yeah, just that day to day, like I want my hair to be like this, or I want to wear a bow in my hair, because even though it looks like I'm 5 years old, I'm gonna be like, this is what I'm doing right now. Like, you
Yeah.
know, and I don't really care. Like, so
Yes. And so like that's basically a form of glamour magic, which is like when, you know what I mean, when we dress our outside to like I'm going to war today and I look like it. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and I think that that's really important. People underestimate that feeling. But it is like if you feel sick, like you want to wear your comforting clothes. Like I guess I speak for myself, but if I'm sick, I have to wear my ugliest, oldest, like it's like a 4X. Like
Sweater.
you and I could get in it together and still have like another half a person. And like if I'm sick, I have to wear like ugly clothes and like comfortable, huge clothes. And so like we really dress ourselves for the situation. And so like, you know, if you're going to an interview, like you're wearing like something that makes you feel confident and those type of things. So especially when you're just trying to get through the day, like what you put on or how you do your hair can be really impactful. It might be that extra energy that you need, right?
Yeah, most definitely.
So then tell me a little bit, because I know that you're really into fitness, and tell me how that kind of ties into your spirituality.
So I think this is like a few years back. So I want to say even started around like 2012. But anyway, it was a few years back. And I started really feeling that I just needed to move more, you know, and it was as simple as that. So I first started going to this Brazilian center, and they had live Brazilian drumming.
Oh wow.
And to have that live and to dance with drums and like live instruments, that was like a whole nother experience. And so yeah, I mean, from then on I was like, oh my god, like I could feel the energy in the room, and it was so like, people were so happy. Like every time I go in there, people were just like, oh my god. And all ages, and they were doing like amazing things, and no one was like bragging, but everyone was just happy and sharing things. And there's like this 90-year-old lady like getting down, and it's like, this, I want to be that when I grow up, you know, like I want to be like happy.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's what really kind of started you know, like my fitness journey.
Oh my gosh, that sounds so nourishing. So
Yeah.
I did an interview with the Dr. Giovanni Washington. She does the Black Goddess Oracle, and
Mm.
she does African drumming, and she said that like it saved her life,
It's
it
something
changed her
that,
life,
and
and
it's
like
it's something that, and I actually studied abroad in Ghana too, and I took
oh
a
wow.
African dance class there. And I mean, that started it, but it wasn't until I got back into this where I'm like, oh, I know oh, it's here too. Like I can find it here, you
Yeah.
know? So yeah, it was like hands down the best like like everything I've come across, because really I literally felt the energy of the instruments and felt the energy of everybody. So
That's
yeah,
so amazing. I think that people underestimate like the power of dance and movement and like how
and especially
spiritual it
it
can
reminds me
be.
of one of my, Ghanaian friends who was like, he was kind of teasing the American students in the UK, like British students and all that. And he was like, when I go to UK, I get stiff because you guys are all stiff and
Yeah.
like even my friends that go over there, they're dancing, they come back and they can't move because they're so rigid. They become so rigid. And I
Okay.
said, wow, isn't that the truth? Like, really like our bodies kind of form into like how we
Into
when
that
we think.
space.
And yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And so Dr. Giovanni is like, she has a class and we all are like making different things. And like, so we got like a notebook, right? And this one lady, her whole thing is just through dance because that's her medium. And I'm like sitting here with my
Yes.
notebook and I'm like, I would have never thought of that. But like,
Yeah.
that's
And
so
I'm
beautiful and
and I'm the same
spiritual.
way because my astrological sign is Gemini moon, so I literally have ideas in my head all the time, like poof, you know. So to be able to express it through dance, which is like I feel like there's just you can express so much in just a short amount of time. So yeah, that's been huge.
So do you do anything else besides dance? Are you a runner or yoga or workout class or anything like
Am I
that?
a runner? No.
I'm not a runner either. I don't like run into
Oh.
the fridge, but I'm not a runner.
No. I do yoga. Like I've been incorporating that actually quite recently. Do like morning yoga and my night yoga. That's my bookends. And then I take walks during the day. So that's what I do right now.
That's so important. And so like I went through a phase like, oh gosh, in like 2013 probably. I was really gross. Like back in a different life. Okay, you guys. Back okay. What is this tarot room used to be a gym before it had all this stuff in it, and I was in another life was a certified spin instructor, and I
Okay.
was one of those people that was like, are you going to eat that? Do you know what's in that? Do you know about the gluten? Okay, I was super gross. I wouldn't like me now, wouldn't even like me then. And so like I was super into fitness and like, oh, a shake a day and get up early and work out and take a workout class and
Which is amazing when you
like yeah, and that's great. It's so wonderful. I felt I was in wonderful shape and but my spirituality, like the rest of it was absolute shit.
yeah.
And like it just wasn't. And so now I've kind of gone the other way and my spirituality, I've really focused on that and shadow work and healing. And just now, probably just in 2020, I finally come back around to the place that I'm ready to put it all together with the
And
physical
integrate it. Yeah.
wellness. Yeah. And I'm like, yeah, I do feel like movement is what my body needs.
And I
Like,
went through that too, where I was just like, I was more focused on weight
yes.
and everything. And then, okay. And I took spin classes. I'm like, yeah, this is great. And then it got to a point where I'm like, this is not working for me anymore. I started resenting it. So that's when my
Yes.
drumming came back in. That's when my actually having joyful movement came back in.
Yes. Oh my
So
gosh. Joyful movement. I like that. I'm going to write that phrase down. I like that because it was my physical fitness back then was tied to my weight and how I felt I should look. Which was tied to a bunch of other things. It was tied to like performing in white spaces and like feeling like I needed to appease the media
yes.
and like this and that. And now like joyful movement, that's exactly right. I really like that term. I think that's extremely powerful. And now that I've done all this other work and healing, I do feel like my body's just like, yes, like movement, like some kind of movement, some kind of routine, more water. You can never have enough water. I never get
Yeah.
enough water in, but it's like finally coming full circle. And I don't think that people, I mean, because I will speak for myself. I don't realize how much of a difference it makes when I get up and I have movement, when I've had 8 glasses of water, when I've even if I had 5 glasses of water, as opposed to not enough water and a soda in the afternoon. And then suddenly I'm like, why do I have a migraine? Oh, because I'm
Yeah.
living off of caffeine and chicken nuggets. Like, like,
And and for me it became, and especially how it's more integrated into my life. So now, especially in this world, 2020, I mean, hit us all hard,
yeah,
where you get this news and this horrible stuff, and literally I feel like it stores in my cells, like literally, like,
yes,
and so literally I can't keep it in there. So literally that movement is literally like working stuff out,
shedding that,
like,
yeah.
yeah, because yeah,
And
it's
it's
been
just,
becoming more and more important.
it's just that change in mindset. I think I'm really gonna have to, like, I need a poster that says joyful movement, because like when you're focused on like weight loss and numbers and like this and that, as opposed to like, this is like, my body is my other home, I should honor it. It's a spiritual act to honor your body if you want to accomplish these other things. That alone, like, took,
Yeah, and that's, to me, that's what I got when I went to Ghana, was like, they're like, there are big people, there's skinny people, they all have shape, like, it's just a preference. And it's like, you can move, the kids are moving, the old people are moving. Like, I had a dance teacher, he literally, I think he suffered from a stroke, he had a little cane, he kind of reminded me of Yoda, like,
and he was
he
moving.
straight up, and he threw that cane down. I swear it was like he was dancing, not needing a cane.
Joyful movement.
So
Joyful movement.
joyful movement.
Oh my gosh, I love that. Yeah, it's so magical. And like, people think about magic, it's just in such small ways, I feel like, or they really pigeonhole it as this, it's this one thing. And that
And
comes down to like social media, like aesthetic.
it really is.
Your
Or that it
workout
has
routine.
to be 2 hours a day, or you have to
Yeah.
live at the gym, or whatever that is.
Whatever
It's like,
it
I
is.
spend 10 minutes a day.
Yeah, do something to honor yourself that brings joy. Like, whatever it is that brings joy and like nourishes that heart space, that's magic. That's a spiritual practice. And like, it's all tied to wellness. You know what I mean? Like, full circle. Yeah. Yeah. Cause there was like a time in my life. Well, okay. Yeah. So I went from being like the don't eat that Karen, and then I was super unhappy, to like doing all this spiritual work and being happy, but then telling people to take care of themselves while living off of caffeine and chicken nuggets and like having like stress migraines.
That's what I literally, when I was going to the gym, I would see that.
Yes.
And I'd be like, wait a minute, like the instructors and stuff. And I'd be like, okay, I'm not just like, whatever. But it was interesting to see that, like,
Yeah. And so now I'm like coming back around, like, let's put that all together. Let's put all this spiritual work with a salad, with 20 minutes of yoga in the morning, and like get it all together.
yeah, because it really does make a difference with your day. And especially the things you can control, like this is definitely something you can, to some extent, to control.
So so I know that you're like this crazy, amazing tarot reader. Do you want to talk about your tarot practices at all, or how you found tarot, what it does for you?
So it's a quite interesting. So it kind of in process. So I got into tarot actually about probably like 3 or 4 years ago now. I started lurking, like I started like just watching videos, like, and then it started getting into it. Actually, the first time I got my first deck, it wasn't a tarot deck, but it was what was it called? Like, it's Whispers
Normand?
of Love or something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah. It's a really nice deck. But
I love that deck.
yeah, I used using it for self-love and everything.
Yeah.
And I remember I went to it was the first time at my metaphysical store, and I walked in, I was all disheveled because literally I really had a really bad day at work, and I was like, do something, like, and the lady was like, okay, like, and she told me some essential oils to use to bring back to the office with me. She told me, oh, you might want to check out this meditation on YouTube. And then I bought a deck that day. So, and then eventually got into tarot. So that was where I kind of got in with it.
Isn't that amazing how the
However,
universe brought you what you needed that day? Isn't
yeah,
that crazy?
it's amazing. And then, however, my grandma was into it. My mom was into it, and I knew about my grandma because that was one of our rules in the house was actually I don't want that in my house, even though she used it, you know. And then also my mom, but I found out later on the reason why was she was getting a little too she I think she said
Did she
that
get
she was getting
spooked? She got scared?
too good.
Yeah, she got
And she was
scared.
like, I saw things happen that I couldn't stop necessarily. And that's why she kind of threw that out. But growing up, I mean, looking back, it was one of those things I'm like, so that wasn't everybody's experience with talking about like spirits and oh, okay. Like now thinking back, I'm like, I think there's definitely some underlying roots of, obviously doing tarot, going to psychics,
Yeah.
it was just kind of hush hush. And all honestly, she taught me a huge respect for spirits.
Yeah.
And that was another rule was like, you don't use a Ouija board for playing games.
Yeah.
No one's a game. Like these are spirits. So whether these spirits have bodies or not, do not play with them. Like you don't play with spirits,
Yeah.
people, spirits, nothing. So there's those little lessons that have kind of come up, and I'm like, oh yeah, hey
Isn't
there.
that
So
funny how like that generation are like, oh, we're not into the woo, and then they teach you all these things. My mom's like that too. My mom's like,
no,
I'm not into that.
dude,
And then
I
she'll be
would
like, my mom literally, she'll be like, when you move, don't you take that broom with you. You leave that dirt and that broom back there, and you get a new broom. Don't you ever bring that dirt into the
no,
new house.
and
I'm
then even
like,
I remember like, okay, you're dropping some gems, but okay. I
I
got
see you.
actually I went to a mass, and my family's Catholic. I went to a mass that literally was a healing mass. I've talked to other people. People are like, "What church did you go to?" I'm like, I was that's a regular thing, but it was literally we were laying hands, and it's like I've yet to find someone that's like their church did that. I'm like, what did you go to a like? What is this?
At the Reiki Church of Goddess.
Yes,
Oh my gosh. I
you know.
love it. I love
Yeah. And
it.
then even her mom did stuff. So it's like, you know, through the generations. But now I'm finding out, like, oh, shoot, this is not, just didn't just get dropped on my head, you know?
Yeah.
Um,
So I know you also do ancestry work, right? Is that because that's a pretty big thing for you?
yeah. And that's something that, again, looking at, I use a little bit of astrology even to do that because I cast like charts.
Okay.
And so I actually saw that there was the same three energies through the generations, like the same markers of we had similar placements.
Oh my gosh, that's so cool.
And also having empathy because my great grandmother actually I mean her end was kind of a quite sad end, but she wasn't understood because of a lot of the things that was going on at the time, right? I mean, if you would say certain things like I'm hearing things, that that,
Yeah.
that would be quite a big stigma, and you say it out loud, right?
Right.
So things like that, and I've been looking through not only the astrology but also ancestry, just like tracing my family tree on my mom's side. On my dad's side, I'm actually Nigerian, so I've been looking into Igbo cosmology through on that side. So
That's so exciting.
yeah.
I find ancestry work like it's really slow for me, and it's because I have like that disconnect, but it's really nourishing, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
just Everyone
And
can do it, and I think everyone should. Like,
everyone should try.
yeah,
And even if it's just to understand, like I tracked down even like I think it was my grandma's brother or something, and even just hearing stories, and I was like, wow, like this
you'll
is
be
where it came
surprised.
from.
Yeah, you'll be surprised what patterns you find in that ancestry. You know what I
Or
mean?
like, or certain things like, hey, she seemed like a real like hard one, but she actually released herself from a lot of stuff. Like,
Yes.
dang, you know. So
Yeah.
huge respect.
Yeah.
And then on my other side, because I don't know so much of that side, because we have some colonialism situations on that
Yeah.
side. But to get to know these stories, to start to get to know those stories, it's almost allowed me to get to know that side more. So
That's so cool. Okay, so before we go, I had two more questions that I wanted to ask you. So for anyone that's looking to connect more their spiritual wellness with their physical wellness, is there any tips that you have for like getting started, or any practices or anything like that, any apps that you use? Or like when I got started, I had to wear a bracelet because like I was still working like an 8 to 5 like business job, and I had to wear like one of those fitness braces that would like buzz every 20 minutes, like telling me to get up and walk around.
see, I'll rebel against those things. I'm like, no. But I would say, just even if you
Did you just
find
see, did you see me just hit my teeth with my drink?
I think that looking for like real simple 10-minute exercises, 15-minute exercises, 15-minute meditations, 10-minute meditations, 5-minute, it doesn't really matter. Just start one. So find someone you like. There's so many videos now,
Yeah.
set to one and get started. There's so many like 7-day 10-minute challenges, something like that. And just kind of get started. You can always change. You don't have to commit. Like, you could keep on changing. Also, if you can go outside, get some fresh air. It seems like real basic, but I always knew, even if I was having a really bad day, if I could hear like the bird chirping, I'm like, oh, it's not completely trash. Like, I can still hear like something
Yeah.
that's living.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, in terms of like just setting some really like small goals, and then once you accomplish them, you can always amp it up. You can always change the activity to make it more intense, but just start small,
Yeah.
basically.
And so then my last question is for your other spirituality practices or your tarot practices, do you have any like learning resources or books or content creators or anything that really helped you that you would like to offer to other people that are learning?
Yeah. I mean, with books, I'm not really like, I read them and then it kind of just goes like, you know, I'm like kind of like I love books and I love to read, but and then I learn all the esoteric symbolism and all that. But find a deck that, if you use a deck that you like, and it doesn't have to be RWS or whatever. It can literally be an oracle deck. I know some people have a huge like, oh, I don't want it because I'm kind of bougie tarot person or whatever. But you figure out what you like to use
Yeah.
and use it. And you don't have to get like 10 million decks either.
Yes.
So
I
just
second that.
start with the one deck.
Yeah.
And yeah. And there is a book that is quite fun listen, and I got it from my library. So you don't even have to buy them if you don't want to. I got it on an audiobook from the library. And that was Kitchen Table Tarot, I believe.
Oh yeah. It is a great
Yeah.
book. And
So
yes, you guys, books get expensive. If you can get
go
your stuff
through the
from the
library.
library, oh yes.
Go through, and they have audiobooks and ebooks and all this stuff. So yes, use the library still. So
Okay. Awesome. Oh my gosh. Thank you. This was so much fun sitting down with you. I appreciate you. And this was wonderful. You guys get out there and find your joyful movement, whatever that would be. Start small, just find joyful movement in your day. And that's so beautiful. Thank you, B, for being here with us. And you guys, I'll put all of our information down below so you can connect on Instagram and everywhere else. And yeah, we will see you guys back for another trial of Witch Hunt. Bye.